The Last Duel is a 2021 film directed by Ridley Scott, which stars Matt Damon, Jodie Comer, Adam Driver, and Ben Affleck. Whew. This is actually an adaptation of a 2004 book which goes over the historical events of the last judicial duel that took place in France back in the 1300s. I wanted to talk about this movie because I thought that the way it tells its story is very fascinating. What we essentially get are three different sides to the story told from three different perspectives. First, we get the story through the perspective of Jean de Carouge, who challenges Jacques Legris to a duel over accusations that Legris had raped Carouge's wife, Marguerite. Next, we're shown the story through the perspective of Jacques Legris, and lastly, we are shown the story through the perspective of Marguerite. At face value, this kind of storytelling doesn't seem all that unique, and it honestly seems like something that we've seen plenty of times before. Throughout the movie, we get different pieces of the story, and then when we put them together, we get the full picture. Except, that's not entirely what happens in this film. Not every piece we get is perfect. Each perspective is heavily influenced by their own biases and beliefs, which can create a lot of contradictions between each story. For example, Carouge sees himself as a strong and noble man, so when we're seeing the story through his perspective, well, that's exactly the way that we see him. Legris, on the other hand, sees Carouge as an illiterate idiot with a short fuse, so that's exactly how Carouge acts when we're seeing the story through Legris' perspective.
Waiting to be fated with gift upon gift upon gift, and risks nothing.
You see, the film doesn't show the audience events the way that they actually happened. However, it only shows the events the way that certain characters remembered them. But there is one exception to this, though, and it's that the film does imply that Marguerite's story is the true story out of the three. This method of storytelling actually has a name. It's called the Rashomon effect. The Rashomon effect is a term that was coined based on a Japanese film called Rashomon, which was released in 1950. Rashomon is a story about four different eyewitnesses who each give their own accounts on how a samurai was murdered in a forest. Much like in The Last Duel, in Rashomon, each one of the eyewitness perspectives contains details that contradict one another. However, in Rashomon, each story is so different that at the end of the day, you don't know which story is the real one. Not just because there are so many contradictions, but because each story is just as likely to be true as the last. What Rashomon tries to show the audience is how unreliable eyewitness testimony can sometimes be. The Last Duel uses the Rashomon effect in order to illustrate how unreliable the perspectives of Carouge and Legris are. Again, I just want to say that the film does imply that Marguerite's story is the true one, and that's really where the film differs from the Rashomon effect.
I say before all of you, I spoke the truth.
Before I wrap this up, I do want to mention something odd that I came across when trying to read up on the Rashomon effect. You see, when you go to Google the Rashomon effect, you'll get some odd examples of movies that I don't think are actual examples of the Rashomon effect. For example, if you Google the Rashomon effect, one of the films that will come up as an example would be the film Predestination, starring Ethan Hawke. I think I kinda understand where the confusion is coming from, though. You see, Predestination, for those of you who haven't seen the film, is a movie where the story is told from multiple perspectives. However, in Predestination, those different perspectives aren't necessarily unreliable or contradictory. they're just incomplete. You see, in Predestination, we get a bunch of different pieces to the story that are each true, but we get a better sense of the story by putting it all together. In Rashomon, you can't exactly put the pieces of the story together from the different perspectives because they all contradict each other. So again, in Predestination, it's not that the different perspectives are contradictory or unreliable. They just lack information. And it's information that, as you continue to watch the film, it's information we end up getting from other perspectives. They don't contradict each other, they complete each other. And that's how it differs from the Rashomon effect. Make sense? Well, I hope y'all liked this video. Are there any other examples of movies that you can think of that use the Rashomon effect? Let me know in the comments section.